Mama Flabo! Can you feel the winds of victory blowing in Soufriere tonight? Well, Philip declared, I cannot say short, I cannot say tall. The tall man he was speaking about was Spider. And the short man, he is afraid of his guy Joseph. Mama Flabo, serious business tonight. Because as you have heard from many speakers, we are in trouble. Now, Mama Flabo, I have to deal with home. Right where I am here in Soufriere. And I remember being in the cabinet with Senator Herod Stanislaus. And I looked across from the hills of Canaries. And I see the magnificent progress that was happening here in Soufriere. And so when Herod called me on election night and he said, Dom, it doesn't look like Soufriere is coming home to the UWP tonight. It was one of the most saddest moments in my life. Because from then I knew that by abandoning Herod and going to Emma, that Soufriere was in trouble. From election night I knew because I was here when we opened the town square. I was here when we sat and we unveiled under the visionary leadership of Alan Chasney and Herod Stanislaus the most beautiful town square there is in St. Lucia. I was here when we opened the Hummingbird Beach project right here in Soufriere. I was here when we opened up the bus terminal in Soufriere, one of Herod's favorite projects, because Herod saw that by building up the infrastructure of Soufriere, that what Soufriere was becoming was a beacon of hope for small communities everywhere in the developing world. And so it's a travesty from coming from the best representative that Soufriere has ever had to the worst representative that Soufriere has ever had. That's a travesty. And so tonight, I'm going to put the political leader under some pressure, because I am going to stand here proudly tonight and endorse Mr. Herod Stanislaus as the next candidate for Soufriere constituency. Herod is the man. There's too much work to continue to build the destiny of this constituency. Now, I must tell you that while all of that was happening for Herod, I can't tell you I wasn't a little jealous. I was a little jealous. Because you see, a very special place in Alan's Chasney's heart is the constituency of Soufriere. And so Soufriere was the Blue Eye constituency because it was the Prime Minister's favorite child at the time. His second favorite child after Micoud South. And so, Soufriere, you have made a significant blunder by getting rid of an MP who was the best you've had in history, and getting rid of a Prime Minister who had a soft spot for Soufriere, who understood that Soufriere played a significant role in the economic development of St. Lucia. When I went to see him, he told me that Dom, Ancillary and Canaries will grow once Soufriere grows. Choiseul will grow once Soufriere grows, what is happening to the growth today? What is happening to all the work we did in village tourism? What is happening in the new facilities we put down at the sulfur springs? What's happening to the new baths? What is new? What has Emma done in 2 years? Absolutely nothing for the people of Soufriere. But you should not be surprised, because in Grosley, where I grew up, we had a rep called Spider, and Emma had come in and replaced 5 glorious years of Spider, who did magnificent work in the constituency. And Emma was a complete failure. That's why she had to run from Grosley and come here to fool the people of Soufriere. And so, my brothers and sisters, Soufriere is in deep trouble. Soufriere is in deep trouble. And St. Lucia is in deep trouble. Now, let's get to the meat of the matter. We have a situation in our country which is gripping all of us. The Labour Party says that they are gouvernement Malawi. Yes? Isn't that correct? Yes? But how could you be a government of the poor and you allow bread to go up? You allow gas to go up? You allow cooking gas to go up? You allow the price of electricity to go up? You allow food in the supermarket to go up on the backs of the poor people of this country? How can you say that there's nothing you're able to do? Because the inflation is imported. Philip J. Pierre would like us to believe. Now, if you cannot do anything, if you do not have any ideas, then step aside and allow a visionary leader in Alan Michael Chasney to come in and lead St. Lucia out of the trouble that it's in. And so I do not agree, because other governments have done wonderful things to protect their people. You go to St. Kitts and you see that they have reduced and removed completely duties from barrels going into St. Kitts. They have reduced the excise tax on fuel. They have reduced the fuel surcharge on electricity. They have capped bus fares so that bus fares would be cushioned and stabilized, and their people will not have to face the increases of bus fares. They have decided as well that they will cap the price of gas, and they have given a subsidy for the gasoline importers in their country. But at one time in St. Lucia, we had even the price of kerosene being at record levels under the leadership of Philip J. Pierre and the St. Lucia Labour Party. And so, brothers and sisters, they told us that food would not be affected. But look, Spider just read a memo from KFC to its customers showing us that food will be affected, because if you go by KFC now, they are saying come October you will have to pay new and increased rates for all of their products. Now, it tells you that Philip J. Pierre doesn't understand the economy. Philip J. Pierre doesn't understand how to manage the economic affairs of this country, which is why he would make a statement like that. Now, I want to say to you that in the worst of times, all of the things that Philip has promised, Alan Chasney did it in the worst of times. In the worst of times. In the worst of times during COVID, Alan Chasney didn't promise 1,500 to people who were going through a tough time. He delivered 1,500 in income support to the NIC workers of this country. He went to the World Bank and he said, look, there are people in our country, taxi drivers, hairdressers, barber shops, farmers, unregistered workers who are not registered with NIC. And now that the tourism industry and the general economy is closed, I need to borrow some money so that we can give these people some income support. That's how you lead through a crisis. He said to the same World Bank that we have 6,000 families that are going to be affected by the high electricity bills. And today, if you look at the Social Economic Review, electricity price has gone up by 30%. But Alan Chasney, in that time, with very little fiscal room, said that we are going to give support in electricity bills to 6,000 families all over St. Lucia. That was done in the worst of times. Alan Chasney never put on a 2.5% tax on the backs of poor people struggling in this country. He never did. In fact, what he did, he said that at this difficult time, people are struggling to pay their loans. I am going to remove property tax. And for 3 years, businesses nor residents never paid property tax while we were recovering from COVID. But Philip J. Pierre put on our backs a 2.5% tax, and then he tells us that he cannot do anything about inflation. He cannot do anything about our suffering. He cannot do anything about the price of bread going up. He cannot do anything for the vendor in Soufriere who has no business because there's 0 cruise ships coming to the harbor. He cannot do anything for the worker in Soufriere who has less hours because Ernest Hilaire has messed up the airlift situation of this country. He cannot do anything to the tour guides at the Sulphur Spring because they are on rotation and they're having less pay. That's a failed leader. That's a clueless leader. That's an incompetent leader. And we must get rid of Philip J. Pierre. We must get rid of him and install a visionary leader to deal with the inflation problem affecting our country. And so, brothers and sisters, don't make them fool you. You walk through Castries, you walk through Soufriere, and people who are trying to do something for themselves are finding it tough. It's not just businesses. People are almost begging you to give them a sale. And when people are begging you to give them a sale, you must know that things are hard for everyone in this country. But Philip doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand the plight that the small man is going through. He doesn't understand how to protect you from the high cost of living. All he cares about is protecting the Labour Party's victory. That's all he cares about. And so he has failed to protect us from crime. He has failed to protect us from cost of living. He has failed at doing the job of Prime Minister. And so this business about who is the best tourism manager in our country, and we have to talk about this here in Soufriere because Soufriere is the breadbasket of the tourism sector, and we must deal with some of those mistruths that the Minister of Tourism and the Prime Minister continues to spread in the country, to make people feel like they are doing such a great job. Now, we launched a program here in Soufriere called the Village Tourism Project. And you've seen evidence of it everywhere. You've seen the square, you've seen the Hummingbird project, you've seen the bus terminal, you've seen the Chasney Bridge, you've seen a whole host of programs to help to create a better enabling environment for the community of Soufriere. The Labour Party came in and they took over this project, which really was to encourage more small businesses in tourism, was to create greater ownership among St. Lucians within the tourism industry, was to make sure that there were more Airbnbs, that there were more restaurants, there were more bars, there were more tours owned by people in Soufriere and people in St. Lucia. And Herod and myself and the former Prime Minister worked very diligently to get Soufriere going and to make sure that Soufriere, even in the difficult of times with COVID, that it could recover as fast as possible. The Labour Party took over this program, and the only thing they have done is change the name from village tourism to community tourism. When last have you heard anything from the Minister of Tourism about community tourism or village tourism? He is a complete failure of the people of Soufriere. He's a complete failure of hotel workers, and he too deserves to lose his job. They want to make you believe that Alan Chasney has never built a hotel. Could you believe that nonsense? I mean, Alan Chasney built his own hotel. It's called Coco Palm. He put his own money and built his own hotel. Philip Jacques and Ernest Hilaire combined has never built a single bedroom in the history of tourism in this country. There's no debate. You have never built a bedroom. You cannot talk. This is a man who has put his money where his mouth is. He believes in the people of St. Lucia. He believes in our brand. He believes in our uniqueness. He believes that we can be the best. That's why he and his family have invested their money. He's not just siding on the sidelines trying to fool you for a vote. He is showing you that he believes in Soufriere. The first time Alan Chasney entered politics, it was right here in Soufriere that he came to run, because he believes in the potential of Soufriere and he believes in the people of Soufriere. So I don't need to go down the long list. I have about 20 hotels that Alan Chasney brought to St. Lucia. But I'm not going to go down the list, because that's not the point. The point is that there's nobody in St. Lucia, including myself, that has the international respect and has the credibility as a tourism manager like Alan Chasney, Philip Jacques. You cannot compare. So they can jump high and jump low in Parliament. Every time they slip up, we will take them to court. This is all about trying to discredit our leader. This is all about trying to destabilize the United Workers' Party. This is all about confusing you, Mamai Flabo. This is all about trying to get rid of the thorn in their side. This is all about trying to stay in power. But Mamai Flabo, I have got news for them tonight. Change is coming soon. Change is coming soon. Change is coming in Soufriere. Change is coming in Anselme. Change is coming in Choiseul. Well, we have to worry because Philip is still in charge. Mamai Flabo, we have to worry because Philip Jacques is still in charge. We have to worry. Now, I see my my good friend Ernest Hilaire puts out a press release to tell us that St. Lucia has expanded its flights from the US by 7%. And I say to myself, where has Ernest Hilaire been? We have lost from the US market 13 flights a week. 13 flights a week from the US market alone, which is a total of 33% of our total flights to St. Lucia. You increasing the flights by 7% is not good enough. That's why we are under pressure. That's why there are no jobs in this country. That's why hotels are on rotation. That's why the taxi drivers don't have trips. That's why there are 0 cruise ships in the harbor. Because you have mismanaged the industry. You have mismanaged the area. So the plan on the year visionary government, while we were dealing with COVID, was to make sure that we had a strong US market. So that for the first time in the history of our country, we had American Airlines flying from Chicago, and we got that during COVID. For the first time in the history, we had American Airlines from JFK, New York. For the first time in history, we had JetBlue flying 3 times a week from New Jersey, Newark Airport. For the first time in the history of tourism management in our country, we had Dallas, a flight from American Airlines coming out of the state of Dallas. Let me explain why that's important. Chicago was important because there was a monopoly in Chicago, and by putting American competition on the route. JFK was important because there was a monopoly at New York. Miami was important because it was a second flight that gave more frequency, more option and convenience to the customer. And Dallas was important because unlike the rest of the US, Dallas as a state is a very hot state. And so as a result, you don't only have business in the winter, you also have business in the summer months when people from Texas are trying to escape the heat wave of that state. Put Ernest Hilaire in charge of the tourism industry and all these flights are gone, disappear, 0, gone from our country. And that is his record. He has squandered and mismanaged the tourism industry by squandering the airlift of our country. And so we rate him as 0. Carnival and jazz cannot save tourism by itself.
That's right.
Carnival is 1 week, Mr. Minister. Jazz is 1 week. A year have 52 weeks. The farmers have 52 weeks of products. The taxi drivers have 52 weeks of loans to pay. The vendor have 52 weeks of stocks for sale. The hotel workers have 52 weeks of bills to pay. So you coming and tell us that you had a good carnival and you had a good jazz is not good enough. That's not how you manage a destination. So Mama Flamo, there is so much more that I wish to tell you. There is so much more that we must get into. Time doesn't permit me to do so today. But I know that you are feeling tough. I know you're victimized under this government. I know that they have abandoned you. I know that they are coming for a lot of you personally. I know how vindictive they are. But I want to leave you with a very encouraging scripture that my grandmother used to say. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And so it's time for action. It's time for change. It's time to get rid of Philip J. Pierre and this clueless government. Let's start the campaign now. Let's take back our country. Let's rebuild St. Lucia and put it into a period of prosperity under Alan Chasley and the United Workers' Party. Mama Flabo, thank you. Good night.